All right, everyone, welcome back to the Principia podcast. I'm not sure what episode or season this is since quarantine has everybody thrown off, but I'm the host, Mitch Iverson, coach and head coach and owner of Principia CrossFit, and I'm joined today by Albert Liu, certified CrossFit trainer and self-proclaimed badass.
I don't know why I would say that. Anyway, go ahead.
So today we are going to discuss with you guys what it is that we're doing, we're calling it the Watershed Method, and what it is, why you want to do this, and how important it is to do in the first place. So do you want to give them just like the briefest rundown on what the Watershed Method is?
So the Watershed Method that everyone will go through coming in, it provides the opportunity for someone to figure out where they're at and where they want to get to. It's going to require someone to really look down deep and honestly with themselves through some questions, to consider some questions and answer them really honestly, and to eventually create the state of mind where someone can really take those actions on the way to those successes they want.
So it's kind of like the Watershed Method is, in short, it's a map to get people to their goals.
That makes sense, yeah.
Right, but a map of their own creation.
Right.
So it's not a map that, like, we're not handing them a map and saying you have to do these things to reach your goal.
Right.
And telling you what your goal is. You're telling us what the goal is, and then we're helping through these series of questions guide you to the steps that are needed to accomplish the goal. That way, it's your idea. And if it's your idea, you're much more likely to take it on.
Yeah,
right?
you're more apt to take those actions then.
Right.
You're more self-motivated to do that.
Yes, yeah, which, so at Principia, we believe that everybody needs to go through this Watershed Method first thing. So when you fill out a form online or you call or whatever, we schedule an appointment, a consultation at no cost. We're going to take you through this filter, this method, and at the end of that session, whether you decide to be a part of our community or not, you're going to get a lot out of just filling out this worksheet with us. All right? It's going to give you the tool. It's a tool that gives you all the tools needed, basically. So that being said, like, it's a free conversation that's going to give you a great amount of impact towards your goals and what you want to create for yourself. Why wouldn't you do it? That's kind of the idea, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
they're meeting us for the first time, and we're going to take them through this method. Can you describe like some of the steps, or do we want to go through maybe like a rundown of just a random person, common goals that they might have?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Where do you want to jump into first?
Let's describe someone's goal.
Okay.
So
a common goal.
So a common goal that we hear a lot in our world is, I want to lose that extra 20 pounds that I've gained over the last couple months.
Right. So usually they know that 20 pounds is achievable because they were 20 pounds lighter and they felt amazing, and now they're not in that state anymore, and they think if they lost the 20 pounds, they would then enable them to live their life the way they want to live it.
Yeah, they just want to feel better.
Right. So that's step one, is making sure there's a clear definition of what is it that they want to accomplish. So in this person's case, it's lose 20 pounds.
Lose 20 pounds.
Cool. So the next step that we would take with this person is to kind of highlight the importance of this goal by asking them something like, what's the biggest difference this is going to make?
What does it mean to that person if they lose 20 pounds? So, for example, they could say that they can totally lost my train of thought.
I think
they would feel more comfortable wearing the clothes that they used to wear before.
Yes. So clothing starts coming up. All of the stuff that typically with this type of person, and this works with any task to accomplish. But again, we're just taking this person who wants to lose 20 pounds. Typically, the importance of it is going to circle back to a confidence thing. They want the confidence in their body so that they can then have the confidence in their communication or the confidence in their job or whatever it might be, the confidence in raising their kids. Like, this confidence is so tied to this vehicle that we use to travel through this world. So it's very important to treat that vehicle with a lot of respect and make sure that you take it through the car wash every once in a while, right?
Makes sense.
So yeah, I think that's the next step. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on it, or?
I think it's just whatever this goal is. If it's a physical goal like losing 20 pounds, there's a certain emotional component to that we want to feed, to take advantage of.
Right. So yeah, if we always say 20 pounds and it only has this external meaning to us and there's no internal meaning of like that emotion that's tied to it, then it's probably unlikely for someone to feel the need to change, the need to take the action to do the steps that's going to be required to accomplish said goal, which I think we do that in this society a lot. We just talk about the external thing because it's safe, there's less barriers there, we can make jokes about it, that sort of thing.
It's easier to describe.
So in this process, it's kind of, let's break down the barriers a little bit, let's get to what it means really, and then we start coming up with the need, right? So now, like, people actually, it doesn't become a want to lose 20 pounds, it's a need to lose 20 pounds. And if it truly becomes a need, then people will do anything to accomplish it. It won't be a yes or no thing. It won't be a maybe or if I get there, I get there kind of thing. It'll be it's going to happen because I need it to happen.
It's a do or die moment in that case for someone to do.
So that's step 2. So first step was let's identify this, and you guys could write this down if you want, and you could do this exercise for any goal in your life. It doesn't have to be fitness related. Any goal that you want to do. The first question is, what do you want to accomplish? The second question that we just answered is, what is the biggest difference that this will make? All right. The third question that we're going to ask, what does the completed project look like? What's the ideal outcome?
So with that success or with that result in mind, just start to paint a picture of what you're going to feel like, what it's going to look like in that state for you.
I think you touched on an important, what's it going to feel like? A lot of people say, like, it's easy to get, well, you know what I mean by that, 20 pounds lost. Like, I'm probably going to look leaner. It's like, cool, start writing those down. But also write down, how does it feel on top of that?
For example, if that person who steps on that scale at the end of their journey, they see that number that's 20 pounds less than before, that feeling of elation, the goosebumps that come up on their arms or the hair that stands back on the back of their neck when they see that number, that's the feeling, that's that emotion that you want to try to put down on that third question.
Yeah, I think that's the main purpose of that question, is really to get into that feeling stuff. You also want to be specific in what it looks like too. Like, in this one, I'll often have people write down if they have a certain body fat percentage goal. We'll write that down. Everybody is kind of scared to do stuff like that, and the reason they're scared to do it is, 1, what if they don't accomplish it? 2, what if they feel like they've accomplished the goal, but they technically haven't because that number is fixed? It's water, guys. Like, none of this stuff is going to be permanent. You do this once a month and with the same goal, and you'll have different answers every single time you do it. That's kind of the point, is to kind of workshop this over and over again until it's just back of your head, you're making all the right choices towards your goal every single day. So it's a subconscious trainer as well. But yeah, it's make sure that you don't disregard those physical things just because feeling is important. We want both, for sure. Is there anything else that we want them to write down in this ideal outcome phase? I don't think there is.
It's just, something specific, something that you can actually draw from internally.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll go on from there, because the next piece is, I think, where everything really starts coming together. So far you've figured out what it is you want to accomplish. You figured out why it's important, so what's the biggest difference it'll make. And now you know what the completed project looks like and feels like. Now we're going to go into what's called the success criteria, which is what has to be true when this is finished. So what I tell people usually in our meeting is, okay, let's not take you for example, but just imagine somebody who had the exact same goal as you and now accomplished said goal, and they're in similar shoes as far as like career or whatever, family. They're in similar shoes there. What is it that they do that makes them successful at this goal? Right? They've already accomplished the goal, so what is it? What does their day-to-day look like? So that's kind of where the reason I do that is because I don't want people to imagine themselves, because then they'll start making excuses and not writing things down.
Makes sense.
Right? They'll start saying, well, I would say this, but I know I'm not capable of doing this, or I know I don't really want to change this about myself, that sort of thing. Right. We don't want to have any regard for those feelings right now. We'll talk about that later. Right now we need to look at objectively, what is this person doing day to day that's making them successful at that goal, because that's probably who they need to become.
You're essentially having that person paint a picture of that perfect person.
Right. So we list it out. So let's take this 20-pound loss example.
Sure.
What are some success criteria for someone losing 20 pounds?
What I do hear a lot is people say that they're not eating well. They're not eating right. So
yeah, nutrition's going to be probably top of the line.
Right.
Hydration too.
Right, those two.
Loop those together maybe.
So the success criteria, or some of the things that they need to do along the way to get to that 20-pound body weight loss, is eating right.
Okay. And then you can always, as you workshop this, you can break down defining eating right too. Right? They're eating X amount of meals a day. They're eating X amount of calories a day, macros, whatever you want to subscribe to, blocks if you're doing the zone diet. So like you can break down what more specifically that looks like, but basically if we're calling it what it is, we're going to say nutrition, and we'll include hydration on there as well. What else does this person who wants to lose 20 pounds need to adopt as far as a practice?
I think a huge part is also sleep.
Yes.
Sleep and recovery. A lot of us with our day-to-day and busy lives, sleep kind of goes by the wayside, and we don't prioritize as much. So that might be something that someone who needs to lose that body weight needs to prioritize a little more too.
Absolutely, yeah. So sleep is going to be responsible for success in a huge way, in that if you skip that step, you decide not to sleep, there will be some sort of limitation, because that is when your body actually does most of the work as far as like getting you the result. So when we look at performance stuff, it's really easy, because we're looking at, I want to be stronger, but I need to sleep to be stronger. Right? They've been doing all those researches, like they even made a TV show about lack of sleep, where it's like a game show where they force people to be awake for like 24 hours, and then they play, or they make them count money or something like that.
Right.
And whoever has the most accurate count at the end of this 12-hour period of overnight when they're supposed to be asleep, and whoever has the most accurate count will win, and then whoever has like the least accurate account will lose, and basically they'll be off the show. But they all do this under sleep deprivation, as just like a social experiment. And it's pretty fascinating how inaccurate counting money, it seems so simple, but they're literally counting just quarters, and none of them are accurate to a T at the end of the night. Some of them are off by hundreds of dollars, right? It's like crazy. So that's just that sleep deprivation, and that's a simple task performance problem, right? So that compounds when you're doing it over time and you're doing your daily life, you're working on nutrition, but it's not ever getting where you need to be because there's no willpower, because you didn't sleep, right? Like your decision making relies on that sleep. So sleep is definitely going to be in there, and it's going to be an unwaverable like amount. It's 8 hours, right? Like we're not going to say less than 8 hours, more than likely.
So it's got to be a really specific action you're taking along the way. In regards to sleep, so for example, that's someone who wants to lose those 20 pounds of fat or body weight. A lot of it is probably is body fat. So in order for us to lose our body fat, we encourage trying to build up our muscles, right? And train our body to build our muscles, and to eventually decrease that body fat. Sleep is a huge part of that, where you're gonna, like you said, build back up those muscles when you're sleeping, and also start to burn your body fat as well. So that you need that right amount of time, that 8 hours, for example, to cause that growth to happen. If not, if you're getting your 5-6 hours of sleep, it won't be optimal in that process of trying to lose that 20 pounds.
Right, and just always remind yourself that you're not special. All right, like some people are like, well, no, I function better on 4 hours. Shut up. Like, you're not special, I promise. Like, you just haven't given the change long enough to actually see the result. So you can't really argue it. It's backed by way too much research and science, and it's a guarantee at this point. So you're not going to be that person who tells me you're different and you function better off 4 to 6 hours than you do off of 6 to 8 hours. All right, like that's just not realistic at all. So anyway, let's
move on from the sleep and nutrition part. As far as in general laying out a goal, how many criteria would you want to?
Oh yeah, so I like to have a minimum of 5 success criteria. So far we've named 2, being the nutrition, hydration being 1, and then the sleep being the second. So let's talk about a third real quick for this person. Physical.
Oh yeah, actually.
Right, going to the gym.
Getting somewhere and moving around.
Right, that's moving your body. Important. Like, yeah, we use the gym specifically, but it's not limited to the gym. They need to have some sort of movement practice though.
Yes, I agree.
So X amount of times per week, I usually tell people to just fill it like that. So it's like, oh, this person probably goes to the gym 3 to 5 times a week. Cool. All right, now you know that's the person you have to become. You have to do nutrition, sleep 8 hours. You need to go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week. Cool.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Let's try to get 2 more.
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit. How do you think mental health is going to play a role on this? Someone who has a really high stress job, someone who has lots of kids stressing them out because they're taking on their burdens as well.
Right.
Common things, right?
I think, for example, moms, right? They're taking care of their family, their kids all the time, and they're all about devoting themselves to everyone else in their lives. They're not focusing on themselves. So I guess maybe one of these criteria could be something like, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to give myself a day or an hour a week for self-care.
Okay. Yeah, self-development hour.
Right.
Yeah, you could put an hour number to that. Like, I need to have 3 to 5 hours a week of self-care. And you could also argue that gym time could be that.
Or we can separate it out.
Or we can separate it, yeah.
So.
But I think what you don't want to do when it comes to, because what your goal is to address your mental health a little bit, right? So kind of the underlying concept behind all these things is that all of these things are going to have a dramatic impact on hormones. And mental stress is no different than the physical stress of training, than the physical stress of not eating enough or not eating too much, or all of that stuff is stress, and stress is just like this general thing, and it's a good thing, right? There is no purpose in life if you have no stress. Think about that for a second. You can't live on a beach and drink pina coladas every single day because 1, you're going to get sick and die quickly. 2, you're gonna burn out on that, and then you won't have a purpose in living, right? Like it's just not realistic. Yeah, that's a temporary thing to kind of recharge our batteries, but that's not a permanent thing. So recognizing that stress is good, we start looking at these different areas for us where physical stress, what's the power behind that? What's the power behind this nutritional stress? What's the power behind this getting the right amount of sleep? It's all coming back to this hormone. These stress hormones in particular, and getting those balanced out a little bit. But we never use one of those categories to replace another. We try to emphasize that too. So you're not going to use fitness specifically to meet your mental demands. So there needs to be definitely some mental health stuff in there. It could just be like seeing a therapist once a week. Something like that could work. But I think the person losing 20 pounds definitely needs some sort of self-care routine for the mental side of things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not just the physical side being the gym. Okay, we did 4. Let's just throw one more in there. So we got nutrition, hydration. You've got sleep, physical, like movement practice, and now you have this mental health like self-care stuff. What's another thing that someone who lost 20 pounds, what's their life look like routinely?
I'm not sure if you count as mental health, but cleaning up their network, the people they surround themselves with.
Super cool.
That might be something to consider as
yeah,
well.
so looking at their support, right? So is their family behind what they're doing? Is their coworkers behind what they're doing?
Is
their spouse? Yeah, I mean, it's huge. So one of the first questions we ask people is, oh, married? Yes, no? Yes? Husband, wife, whatever it is, are they supportive of this decision? If the answer is no, then it's like, cool, we'll fill out this thing and I'll send you on your way, but this probably isn't going to be the best fit because you need the support.
Yeah.
And we only want you in here if you're going to be successful, because that's what we're in it for, right? Everybody needs to be successful, including the person we're talking to. And if they're not going to be immediately supported when they're at home with the person they're around most of the time, it's working against gravity a little bit.
Right.
Unlikely going to happen.
We want to stack the deck in whoever comes in his favor.
Yeah, as much as we can, right? Cards are already stacked against. Like, let's figure out how to get them stacked for. So yeah, I think that's a big one, is just looking at your network. It's a great way to phrase it too, network. All right, so that kind of covers most of what this process is. We got a couple things that we'll go over. And the first one, to kind of start wrapping things up, is what's the best result if you take action? You want to answer?
So if you do take action, if this person takes action in trying to lose those 20 pounds, the best result is they're going to lose those 20 pounds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always try to get people to, this is sunshine and rainbow stuff. Like, so they lost 20 pounds.
Sure.
Now they're a better caregiver to their kids. Now they're having more sex more often, and it's fun and it's enjoyable, which helps their relationship. Right. Hopefully they're with their monogamous other, not they're not just like, yeah, I'm having sex all over the place now. I mean, teach their own.
Right.
But point being is, like, this is giving them this confidence that now is doing all this other things too, that we don't always tie in to this 20 pounds of weight loss.
Right.
But it's important that we do, because that's the reality.
It'll open the door to many other possibilities and worlds for them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So best result is go down that path of, like, these ridiculous connections, because that's more real than you think it is.
Right.
And we always, like, when we're setting a goal, we aim really, really high, because if we get to the 75% mark, we're super successful. Right?
Yep.
So aim for the clouds on this one, and you're more than likely going to see some sort of success, period. Okay. The last thing that we cover here is, what's the worst result if you don't take action?
That's a terrible thought, isn't it? But I think if this person does not take these actions here, then they might even put on more pounds over time, and they might feel more sick or more stuck in a rut.
Yeah, it's a compounding. People usually don't like to answer this question very well. They don't go very in depth. But the more in depth you go here, the more emotional need comes out of it. And then it goes from being that want and desire to lose 20 pounds to that my life needs this more than anything else, and now it's my number one priority. And there's no excuses that you can make to fix that, because you just listed out the worst case scenario in a very dramatic way.
I have a feeling that if someone like you who fills this very last question out, it becomes a do or die moment in that case.
Yeah. It's shit or get off the pot. I mean, but in a worse way. So yeah, it's one of those questions that I think people will overlook because of the barriers, especially when they're meeting with us. But one of the values of working with us is it doesn't end with this worksheet, right? We do this Watershed Method, and we fill this out. Preliminary stuff is kind of like surface level. We start breaking it down through the system, through our Win It Back system, with one-on-one training and with small group training, and then larger group training is the last step that we take. But as we start getting into that, we're starting to break down those barriers to where you are actually successful. And you'll answer those questions appropriately for you, because it's best for you. This Watershed Method is not, I guess, a tool to be taken lightly. It could be the most powerful thing that you use in your life if you were to address it. So I guess to kind of wrap it up, I want to make sure that you guys have the list of questions so that you could start practicing answering them. if you want to, and I mean, like, it should just be a no-brainer. Do it with any goal that you want to accomplish. Start with something silly, and then work your way into something more serious. So, question 1, what do you want to accomplish? Question 2, what is the biggest difference that this will make? Question 3, what does the completed project look like / feel like? Questions 4, which these are like multiple, but it's one question. What is the success criteria? So what has to be true once this project is finished? All right. And 5 and 6, what is the best result if you take action? And what is the worst result if you do not take action? If you guys can follow this Watershed Method in anything that you do in life, I guarantee results 100% of the time. Anything you want to add?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right. This has been the Principia podcast with Albert Liu and Mitch Iverson. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment, questions, reach out to us, and we'll start helping you on this journey.